understand what an advisory is, because it doesn't sound like it's the shutdowns or restrictions that we saw last time around that essentially closed businesses.
No, I mean, I think I'm mindful of the previous segment I was listening to you. We know a heck of a lot more, both about the virus, but also about the impacts on our economy than we did back in the spring. And so what we're trying to do is use more of a targeted approach, a surgeon's knife, more than kind of a blunt axe. And so what we're asking our residents to do, we're saying, look, here's what the reality is. In the last month, since early October, we've seen test positivity go up 3 times. We're now at 14.5%. We've seen cases start to balloon 3 times the number of cases, 3 times the number of hospitalizations, ICU beds. And really the most startling piece of information that motivated us to issue this advisory and the other components is if we do nothing between now and the end of the year, we're likely to lose 1,000 Chicagoans to death. That's not acceptable, and certainly not acceptable to me or anyone else on our team. And so we're saying to folks, look, we know that you've got COVID fatigue. We know that you are tired of the different restrictions, but we must do this for you, for your family, for your loved ones, and for the entire city of Chicago. So we're doing this advisory. It's 30 days. In addition to telling people that they should stay home except for work or school, or going to a medical appointment, something like that, something absolutely essential, not to let people in your home. Where we're seeing a lot of our case growth is in these private settings. People let their guards down in homes. They're going to weddings and funerals, and they're also still having parties, and that's where we're seeing a lot of the case growth. Now, don't get me wrong, we're seeing it really across the board everywhere, but these private settings is really the toughest thing to regulate.
So you mentioned you weighed the economic cost here, Mayor Lightfoot. So what will be the impact on the city's restaurants, bars, retailers, movie theaters, everything that was starting to open up again in some limited capacity? Do they have to shut down now?
No, they're not shut down. But for example, our governor issued a new order last week because of the trends in the cases and the test positivity. And our indoor dining is now stopped. Still do it outdoors, but we're mindful of the fact we're Chicago, and the reality is it gets cold here, and it's already starting to. So that's going to have significant impact on our restaurants and bars. We're not shutting down any other businesses, but we are being much more diligent around enforcement. And we've issued some warnings to our retailers, our big box retailers. You look at those stores and their parking lots, it's like the eve of Christmas. The parking lots are full, but there's no lines at the doors. So we worry that they're actually not imposing the restrictions and the guidelines. We're worried about that especially. We're worried about gatherings in other spaces, Airbnbs, hotel rooms being used as party places. So we're just going to buckle down and really be much more diligent about getting the word out. And look, we may have to get to a point where we do a stay-at-home order as opposed to an advisory. But psychologically, as you reflected in your last piece, that's a big step for folks. They're tired, they're angry, they're frustrated. So we're hoping we can educate them into compliance.
Mayor, you mentioned at the top and throughout that we understand the virus much better than we did in the spring, and that you're being more precise with your restrictions rather than broad and blunt as last time round. The other flip side difference compared to the spring is of course, the stimulus was huge then, and now it has run out. I mean, how have you weighed that up, that decision that businesses don't have the same level of support, individuals don't have the same level of economic support as they did back in April and May? And how do you weigh up the quality of life argument versus the quantity of a life argument?
Well, look, we have a very good, close working relationship with all of our business sectors. We brought them along with us on a journey. They've given us very productive feedback. All of the industry guidelines that we have in the city were done in partnership with those industry partners. But there are certain sectors that have absolutely been devastating. our restaurants, our bars, our hospitality industry, and our small businesses that struggle with cash flow on a regular basis. We put out now over $150 million in grants and loans to fill the void that was left, even with the monies that came from the federal government. It's still not enough. We're going to keep pushing and advocating for a stimulus bill. We're obviously following the back and forth and the partisan divide very, very closely, but I'm hopeful when President-elect Biden then becomes the president, he said his top priority is getting a stimulus. And I know that he understands, as does Speaker Pelosi, that providing money to state and local government is absolutely essential. Now, we built a budget on the assumption that we're not getting those monies, but I remain hopeful that that will come through. And we need it because our business sector has just been crushed by the COVID-19 shutdown impacts.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.